and welcome to this week's VR Vertigo. Well, it's not difficult to see that the Rampocalypse has delivered us a clusterfuck of immense proportions. And it's difficult when one inspects the situation to see what set of opposite circumstances could effectively unfuck the situation. However, it has to happen sooner or later. Market forces, AI, etc., blah, 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 have meant that we're locked into this uncertain future, this ever-expensive future, at least until, if you believe some of the reports, 2030. And as I reported previously, people are saying, oh, everything will return back to normal. No. Are you stupid? This whole unfortunate situation has had the effect of resetting the price bar. If you think when 2030 eventually comes around, all these companies are just magically going to say for the benefit of their customers,
let's reduce the prices. It's all back to normal now. All that profit we were making, we can do without that. Our shareholders don't need that. Let's go back to normal for the customers.
Really? The situation as it stands is untenable. Things aren't going to get much cheaper. The companies will continue to make every cent of profit that they're able to make. And really, you can't blame them. Everybody's getting rich, it seems, so now it'll just be their turn. No, there needs to be a sea change. Something new has to happen at a relatively grassroots level in order to reset the picture. And what we need now here on the planet is some kind of gigantic fabricating building that will produce a whole new swathe of RAM that we can save our games to at a cheap and cost-effective price. Is there any such thing happening? Time will tell. And more importantly, time will tell whether those efforts end up being successful or not. But amongst all this uncertainty in the VR space, modders are cooking. They're having a field day. They show no signs of stopping. And this is worrisome. Not because they're all on fire, no. Great! No, but because I worry about manufacturing.
But this is a VR channel.
What are you talking about? Yeah, okay, right, fine. You can VR all you want. But without kit, what does it matter? Hold on! We'll get to manufacturing in a second, hold your horses. The VR game showcase is happening tomorrow, and of course we all wait with bated breath for all those wonderful titles that aren't going to actually be coming our way. Time and time again, the VR game showcase, for all the good work that it does by necessity disappoint. As I've stated many times, VR is being born. It's a long, slow, laborious, painful process. And all of us who are in the VR space who want more than anything to be able to play all the games in VR all the time are left picking up the rather sad morsels at the end of every VR game showcase. Because, hey, we don't all get what we want. And therein is the story of life. But I still am looking forward to the VR game showcase. If nothing else, it's entertaining, and it's good to see the industry moving forward under such difficult conditions. So, indulge me if you will. Let's speculate wildly on something that I think should have been happening over the next 12 months, but because of the difficulties within the industry generally, may not happen for another 4 years. As you know, the Steam Machine's back catalogue is by far its biggest draw. If you talk to any PC gamer, they wax lyrical about Steam and the deals that you can get and the just massive amount of games that are available to you. And so Valve, when developing the Steam Machine, knew exactly what it was doing. The Steam Machine doesn't have to be everything to everyone. It just has to leverage the power of the Steam games back catalogue well enough to make a great gaming experience. It doesn't have to be jaw-dropping. The old argument of what's better, graphics or gameplay, still rages on. For me, it's gameplay. As long as I get a good game, I'm happy to put up with graphics of a mediocre nature, because it's the experience that you're left with. Graphics, great, you can talk about that for 5 minutes. but the game experience, that lasts a lifetime. And so who else has a large back catalogue? Who else can leverage the corporate power that's needed to give gamers a massive amount of experiences on a console? Xbox, of course. Yep, you were there before me, but hey, let's just walk it through. Xbox Game Pass was meant to save Xbox, and yet it's had in some ways the opposite effect. Too many games, not enough time. Curiously, something that Steam players don't seem to complain about half as much. If Asha Sharma is paying any attention to the field of play around her, she must be paying attention to Steam. And are there any ways in which the Steam model can be leveraged by Xbox? And if we're talking about VR, and yes, before you say anything, I know there's nothing on the horizon. Or is there? Asha Sharma must be looking at every single facet in order to make Xbox profitable, in order to make Xbox shine. And this brings me to this rather large piece of speculation and a question that I'm asking you. Let's say, for one moment, Xbox were considering, in some small but significant way, VR. An Xbox VR future. It's hard to see under current market circumstances them manufacturing a headset of their own. And so the question is, quite simply, if they were to partner up with somebody, who would that be? Or the other, more cost-effective strategy is just to somehow open up the Xbox so that you can plug any headset in and play games in VR. The model exists now, and Xbox must on some level be looking at this and thinking, there's an opportunity here. And if that partnership were to finally happen, if Xbox were able to find a way to code their way into VR through existing Xbox consoles, no doubt their preferred method would be to have an Xbox branded headset. But who's making headsets in this climate? It's hard to see once the Steam Frame, if the Steam Frame ever gets released, and once it's sold out, whether they will be making any more for the next few years. And so partnership seems the most likely path forward. And for me, the most likely partnership exists between Microsoft and Meta. If those two behemoths of industry came together to form a new pinnacle in the VR landscape, well, all bets are off for everybody else. And whereas Xbox don't have a branded headset of their own, consider for one moment a green Meta Quest branded the Meta X. When you consider this prospect, this potential, as I've just outlined it, not only does it make perfect sense, it actually starts to, get you a bit excited. I often talk about what new statements in the VR space would do for VR. It would make huge waves. And Xbox partnering with Meta Quest to develop a new Meta X headset, well, the future would be bright. A partnership this big and this strong would also remove some of the uncertainty in the industry. All it would take is a little tinkering around the edges by both parties to somehow meet in the middle and bingo. But in these uncertain times, these large corporate concerns, MetaQuest and Xbox need all the help they can get. They are monolithic by nature, but there are some problems that may be coming down the pike that neither of them can solve alone. And who gets to benefit from this seemingly impossible partnership? We do. The gamers, customers, consumers. A whole new world of gaming opens up before us. And who knows, if Xbox and Meta finally their eyes do meet across the dim disco floor, the lights flashing all around them, as MetaQuest looks coyly at Xbox and Xbox returns its gaze wantonly, They understand, as people do in a disco, this is the language of love. And as Xbox dances its way over to MetaQuest, the MetaQuest looks coyly out of the side of its eye and says, "Me? No, surely not." Oh, go on then. And the stars align and sparks fly, and there's the sweet, sweet language of love, albeit rather messy corporate love. Then what's not to like? As we've seen so many times in the past, the only thing lacking here is corporate short-sightedness and the will to act. Beautiful partnerships can be made all around and raise all ships simultaneously. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, it would finally force Sony to start to up its game, to pay some loving attention to the PSVR 2, to understand that Sony's strength lies in its own games back catalogue. And if it would just pull its corporate thumb out of its corporate ass, it would suddenly magically find a new VR string to its bow that it can actually lean on and utilise and back for the sake of their players and their corporate strategy. But this is all speculation in a perfect world, and we currently live in the most imperfect of worlds. But let's face it, these tall tales are fun. And maybe if we all wish hard enough, they may come true. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe and share. It really would help the channel. And until next time, bye bye.